Okay, so are you ready? Are you ready to join the Build a Line Challenge with me and the Bisa Boutiques Creative Group? I want to tell you all about it this time. So we've had a lot of folks a little confused about what is she trying to do here, and many excited because they want to be part, and you know, they're not quite sure how to approach it and what they're going to need to do. So I'm going to try and tell you most all the basics that I can. Yeah, I got my glasses on because I've had to write it all down. So I got to be able to read it. And we're going to have one angle today. I'm going to be talking to you, so forgive me if I'm too wordy. I got to tell you, last night I was on Palladia and I was watching a Dolly Parton concert. And I watched that woman move around and talk to people, and I like got a revelation. It's everything you do has to come from your heart. There's even a song about that. It has to come from your heart if you want it to work. And you have to be able to tell your story. You know, that woman can tell her story. She's told it in how many songs that have made her a millionaire time and time and time and time again. She did it, and she does it with grace, and she makes everybody feel good. For me, she was kind of an example of, like, I can't be Dolly Parton, although I do have my coat of many colors on today. But I thought, you know, that's it. It's got to come from the heart if you want it to work. And that's what Build a Line is about. Bringing up what's in the resources and stores of your heart as an artist and bringing it to the public and having it make sense to them as well. Now, why can I do this? Who am I? What do I know about that? Well, I guess now I'll have to tell you my story because I did it. And I really don't know how I did it. I didn't have anybody to guide me. I had nobody to tell me anything. I had very little mentoring. But I figured it out. And it really wasn't that difficult. And once you get on the right track, it won't be for you either. So just let me tell you my story, if you don't mind. Maybe some of you know it, but it goes back to when I was in my very early 30s. That's been some time ago. And I had a 2-year-old little boy and a $20 bill. And I was a cleaning lady with a very busy cleaning business because I was actually quite good as a cleaning lady. I was in demand. And I didn't like it anymore. It made me feel used. Ever have a job that made you feel used? I think a lot of us have. If you have a job that makes you feel used, you've got to find something to feed your soul. So what I liked was, I liked old stuff. Stuff I remembered seeing in my grandmother's house. Back to my years, where I went wandering once again. Seasons of my youth. And I started finding that stuff at flea markets and auctions and stuff like that, stuff that Grandma had in her house. So at first I collected it because I wanted all the stuff Grandma had in her house and wouldn't give me yet. And then I started thinking, you know, I think I can sell this. And I took the Antique Trader Weekly, which was this great big tabloid type paper, like, you know, this, like the National Enquirer used to be. And you would put a subscription in and get it once a week, and you could read the want ads there, and there were lots of them. And a lot of shops advertising things they want to buy, collectors, whatnot. So I started just going around collecting stuff up, just buying old linens, vintage clothing, lunch boxes. That's when lunch boxes were first hot. Some old pottery, depression glass. I did a lot of depression glass. I did paper ephemera, you name it. You know, if I thought I could sell it, make $5, I was doing it. And so eventually I decided to specialize in vintage costume jewelry because it was very plentiful here in Ohio at that time. And so I started sending that to the shops. And pretty soon I had a regular steady clientele for that sort of thing all along the East Coast and San Francisco and LA. Right, so it was just shooting at. I'd go out to the flea markets, I'd go out to the antiques shows and shops and malls and whatever, and ladies would hold stuff for me. I would know by the time I had that stuff in my back seat how much I'd made and who was getting it. And it was really cool because if somebody became difficult to work with, fine, I'd get it to somebody else. But I learned, I made a lot of mistakes, but I learned the trade, and I learned a whole lot about vintage costume jewelry, and I loved it. But there was still something missing, and somebody suggested to me, well, you know, Brenda, maybe you ought to design your own jewelry. A couple people did that. A customer of mine sent me a bunch of junk and said, hey, go for it. She lived in Florida. She did craft shows. She sponsored them, promoted them, that's what I want to say. And she sent me a bunch of junk and said, make something. And then I worked for a lady as a housekeeper who had a button brooch, and she said, can you make this? And I said, yeah, you know, and I did. She wore that brooch on that same jacket till the day she died. After I quit working for her, Donna went to work for her, and she used to try and get it off of her so that she could bring it back to me so it could be fixed because that stuff was falling off. I used hot glue back then. I've learned a few things since then. Don't use hot glue. But anyway, so yeah, I started making jewelry. I started doing tabletop shows in high schools. And I tried friendly plastic, I tried polymer clay, resin. I was doing resin years of 25 years ago over that. Throwing glitter and watch parts and stuff down in it to see what would happen. I was using paint, ink, real heavy watercolor paper. I love to this day torn up watercolor paper and putting stuff on. You've never seen any jewelry I make with it because it's like, you know, is the world ready for this? I don't know, but imagine back then, was the world ready for it? But what I noticed most of all was there was a certain type of jewelry that I would put together that sold best. And it was jewelry made out of little old Mississippi clamshell buttons and little ceramic roses and little brass charms. And it looked a lot like this. I'm going to hand this over to Javi, and she's going to zoom in on that for you so you can get a good look at it. Then she's going to flip it over so you can see the back too. I have very few original pieces of this line left, so I actually made that last week. And it's not exactly, I would say it's a better version of what I did. Flip it over, you can see how clean it is. There's still maybe one little glob there that needs to be cleaned, and that one is signed. It's kind of hard to see the signature, but that one is signed. I didn't sign any of those pieces. They were put on professionally made jewelry cards that said Bisou Boutiques at the top, and at the bottom they said Handmade in USA. And I developed a line that looked kind of like that. Okay, Javi, you can hand that back to me. And we'll go on and tell them a little bit more about that line. I'll just leave it there, yeah. So it wasn't just that line. There were sublines. That piece was called PN38, and you could get it all kinds of different ways, but I really never took off with that line until one of my customers, who had started to sell to shops, said to me, hey, do you think somehow you could make a brooch like that and get the word grandma put on it? Well, that was a stretch, so I had to think, wow. And then I remembered I had been reading a lot about Wendy Gell, who I'm so thrilled is now my friend. And I was just so enamored of Wendy. And she did these big, bold, glitzy pieces, you know, and it's like, oh, I just felt so validated because of her. And I remembered reading, well, Wendy signed her earlier pieces with a Dremel hand engraver. Like you get, like guys will get them to put their name on their tools and their garage so people won't steal them. If they steal them, their names on it. So it's like, well, that could be a way. So I experimented a little bit and a star was born. The line came together, and it was built on that little gimmick of being able to engrave in uphand script somebody's name, mom, sister, teacher, grandma, blah, 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 cat's name, you name it, I could put it on there. Custom or by line. And the shops could buy 12 pieces from me. If they bought 12, I'd give them 13. You could get hairdresser, nurse. There was a square dancing pin. I mean, it was back when people, wore pins. And then there were other things. There were great big dangle brooches, and there were charm bracelets, and there were head pins. A lot of Victorian looking things. There were bird pins, there were cat pins. My favorite one was from a piece that I still carry. I call him Buster because my pin was named Buster. And he had a little pan, and he had little pearls in there like eggs, and there was a mouse in it. It was like he was cooking breakfast. It was a funny piece. I liked it. Stuff with humor sold well. I sold that line to over 500 store accounts for about 8 years. Plus at retail, at shows. And I did really well with it. And it came together bit by bit, but it was by paying attention. It was by keeping price points at impulse level, not way up here, so nobody can afford it, but on the lower side. So you don't think about it much. And then keep it in theme. Oh, I know what to do with that. And it worked out really well. And I had a bunch of artisan helpers who learned my hand, and they learned how to reproduce the jewelry, and I made a modest living at it, very modest, and I supported them as well, and it worked out. But in time, I grew tired of that. And in the late 90s, I started to do big one-of-a-kinds and over-the-top pieces based on vintage looks that I admired, especially Miriam Haskell type looks and Wendy type looks. And I sold everything. Everything I made. I don't have hardly any of that work unless I intentionally kept it. And it all sold at eBay. And then I started thinking, well, maybe we could sell the parts. And I became a teacher, a mentor, a muse, and someone that you could get good stuff from at a reasonable price. I had a lot of vintage stuff back then. Oh, the stuff I had. Dresden enamels, hard glass enamels, old gingerbread, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? We've learned how to patina our own stuff now anyway, so if we can't get it anymore, whatever. And we've learned how to do our own enamels, so whatever. But the thing is can we pull it all together in a line that has hinges? Meaning, it speaks your name, not mine, because I taught you a technique, your name. You might be using my parts, but you did them your way. And this is your baby, and you've got your gimmick, and you've got your thing that plays to people. So, in this challenge, you're going to learn to do what I did. Now, I did this, I lived this life, but I've never taught this course. So, we're going to be learning together. I will teach this course for a price later, not this time, it's free. We're going to have up to 60 participants, and you will have to apply. And I'm going to tell you what you have to do to apply, so pay close attention, because I know a lot of people are interested in what's this going to require of me. First of all, it's not going to require you to pay me. Okay, not this time. Next time, yeah. A reasonable price. I'm donating my time this time. 60 participants max. I don't think we'll get that many, but it would be great if we did. I'd be happy if I had 20 who were dedicated, because you're going to have to be dedicated. The purpose is to build a cohesive line of jewelry at realistic price points, one that speaks your artistic voice, is your baby, totally you. So I'm not going to be giving you, it's sticking to me, a lot of advice about what you ought to do or what's going to work. Because I've had some people write to me and say, well, do you think this would be a good idea? Do you think I ought to do this? And I'm like, I don't want to tell you. And it's not because I don't want to help, but I want you to figure it out. I want it to come from here, your heart and your mind, and I want it to be yours. So if I tell you a bunch of stuff, You know, and is that fair to the rest who didn't ask me? No, it's not. So it's got to come from you, okay? You're going to have to do that. I have my other notes here. There's actually a blog post on how to apply. So if you go to my blog at www.bsuboutiques.typepad.com, we'll put that in the description of the video. www.bsuboutiques.typepad.com. There's a lot of information in my blog about this. But I just posted before we started this video, and it's going to tell you how to apply. And it's very simple. The sign-up dates for this challenge are January 8th through 12th, 2015, so it's coming right up. You can't apply before, and after the 12th, you can't apply. As much as I love you, you can be my best friend. You got to do it between the 8th and the 12th, period, the end. You're going to send your application to the email address that's in the blog post. I'm not sure I want to post it here at YouTube, but you can go to the blog post and get it. Write to me through Facebook. It's posted there. So anyway, you do have access to it if you go to the Applying for Build a Line Challenge course at BC Boutiques Creative Group blog post at Typepad, bcboutiques.typepad.com. You have to put the words application for Build a Line in the subject line in the email to me, so I won't miss it. Don't do it in all caps, because you know a lot of email programs interpret that as spam, so don't put all caps. I might not see it. Then to be accepted to participate, you have to be a member of the BC Boutiques Creative Group at Facebook. I know some people have an aversion to Facebook. I'm sorry, guys. It's the best way for me to manage this. I'm donating my time. If you really want to be in this, maybe you can suck it up and join Facebook for a little bit just so you can be in this, okay? This isn't a real application form. Don't worry about it. Just you got to be in the group. You have to have a working blog. Are you blogging yet? If you're not, even if you're not going to do it this time, please, if you want to be a working artist that develops a voice and a following, you have to have a blog. Blogs are not dead, and they are not that difficult to set up. I would suggest maybe Blogspot, Blogger, or WordPress. They all three have free formats that you can go mess around with, and there's plenty of people at the creative group, if you join, that can help you. I know Mary Catherine Dice has written a bunch of blog posts to help people out, and there are others there that would be more than happy to give you some advice on how to do it and get it up and running. So you have to have a working blog, because we're going to do this by blog posts and blog hops. And there's also in the Typepad blog I just told you about, there's a post from a few days ago about what a blog hop is. They're a lot of fun and they're really easy. No problem. So you can have a working blog, and you need to be able to take a decent picture. It doesn't have to be the best picture magazine quality, but it needs to be clear. And I prefer, if you're going to be in this and you're going to take pictures, I need to be able to see, the judges need to be able to see. So you need to do it on, please, white backgrounds or very, very lightly staged backgrounds. If you have a bunch of other color and other stuff in the picture, we can't see what's going on. And it also makes it hard for me to give you any guidance. You also need to use visible findings from bcboutiques.com. That's one way you can help me out through this process, is I'm not charging you. If you use my stuff, I can promote your pictures, okay? I can help you get your name out there. You help me too with advertising, so I got stuff to show. Head pins and jump rings are not visible findings, guys. So you know, it's a huge line. You can find stuff to use, believe me. I did. This is full. This is full. This is my catalog that I had. This was the last catalog I ever produced, and it's full of stuff I still carry. So I did it, and this is 8 pages. Okay, we can do it. Okay, so send to me on that application in this order: your name, your blog URL, a brief, up to 3-paragraph description of what you're going to do for the challenge. Be very specific, because I don't want a lot of crossover in this challenge. I don't want a lot of the same stuff. So if your theme gets taken, you might want to have an alternate one, you know, in mind. In case, I'm going to accept participants who qualify by being group members, bloggers, and users of our finding in order of receipt of your emails. Apply sooner than later. That way you can get what, you know, your subject that you want. I will respond within 24 hours. If I need more clarification, I'll ask you for photos. But at first, you don't have to send any. Please don't send any. It'll make things faster for me. Just send me what I asked for. Name, blog URL, up to 3 paragraphs of specific description, okay? And I'll respond back to you through the email that you wrote me, okay? Don't discuss your project idea with anybody else until the first blog hop comes out, which is going to be January 23rd. There's going to be 3 hops. January 23rd, February 20th, March 20th. You have to be able to make those deadlines. They're Fridays. A lot of blogs have features where you can post ahead of time or schedule, so if you're going to have to be away, you could get it ready ahead of time and then schedule it. But you got to be able to have it show up January 23rd, February 20th, and March 20th. And I'll have lots more information as we go along, lots more guidance. I'm probably, after I get the whole list of participants put together, I'm probably going to create a special Facebook group for them. But I don't want others who haven't, that they're not going to be able to do this because of time constraints. Or maybe they're just not ready for this kind of thing. I don't want them to feel left out, so we'll be talking about it at the creative group too. I'm going to be blogging about it like crazy. Probably do some more videos, so you're not going to need to feel left out if there's just no way that you can do this time, okay? You're not going to get not accepted because of quality of your work or something like that. That's just not even an issue, okay? So don't even worry about that. We expect to grow and learn as we go, and you're going to learn, you know, really how to pull your line together and figure out why people buy jewelry, what makes them buy, okay? Are you going to learn everything there is about making a line in this challenge? No. Am I going to be the perfect teacher? I wish. We'll make mistakes together. But the fact is, I made it work with no counsel, no guidance, no nothing. And you can too. You just need to be able to have a flow of components that you can get. You need to have a line that's unique and that has your own look. At the time I made mine, there was nothing like mine now. It wasn't the best-selling line. I didn't have a lot of working capital, and I didn't have backers, so that's probably why I only went just so far. We didn't have the internet then either, okay? So I couldn't get discovered except by doing trade shows and passing it off to reps, and sometimes they were cooperative and sometimes they weren't. We have more opportunities now, okay? But it did well. It did well for someone who started with a $20 bill and a kid on her hip. So you can do it too. I've got confidence in you. Let's go for it. Join up, give it a shot. It's about you. This is your baby. You're not competing with anybody but yourself. Yes, there will be 2 winners. One is going to be a judged winner. You're going to get a $150 gift certificate to Bisou Boutiques, and then there's going to be a randomly drawn second winner for a $75 gift certificate. Who are the judges going to be? They will be members of the Bisou Boutiques design team who are very qualified to judge this because they're all wonderful artists with a very good eye and a great background. So come join us, be part, and we hope to see you in my email on January 8th.